The contract hit the mahogany table with a sound that stopped Amara Cole's heart. She stood frozen in the marble hallway of the Park estate, champagne flute trembling in her hand, watching through a crack in the double doors as her fiancé Julian Park signed away their future. His pen moved in smooth, practiced strokes across the merger agreement, right below the clause that made his marriage to Lydia Wu a binding condition of the $70 million deal. Helena Wu's voice carried through the opening, sharp and final. "Smart choice, Julian. Your architect girlfriend is lovely, truly, but Lydia brings a kind of strategic value that builds empires. Sometimes we have to trade sentiment for survival." Amara set down the champagne on a console table before her shaking hands could betray her. She'd come early to surprise him, wearing the navy dress his mother once had made her look presentable for family events. 3 years. She'd given this man 3 years of her life, reshaped her ambitions around his schedule, learned to smile through backhanded compliments from his family about her unexpected talent. She walked out through the service entrance, heels clicking on imported Italian marble, and didn't look back. If you're enjoying the story so far, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is going to blow your mind. Trust me, you don't want to miss how this unfolds. And drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from. I love seeing where the story is reaching. The drive home blurred into headlights and highway lines. Amara's hand stayed steady on the wheel, but her mind splintered. Julian laughing at a charity gala. "Amara doesn't need my help. She's the real deal." His mother asking if she considered hyphenating professionally. "Cole Park has a nice ring. The apartment key he'd given her 6 months ago. You're home now." She'd been auditioning the entire time. And tonight, she'd failed the final callback. Her apartment felt too quiet. She poured wine she didn't drink, opened her laptop to distract herself with project renderings, paced the window and back. Outside, Aurelia City glittered with the lights of people living their carefully constructed lives, unaware that hers had just collapsed. The bathroom light was harsh fluorescent. Amara reached for ibuprofen and stopped. A pregnancy test stared up from the drawer, half buried under hair ties and old prescription bottles. Positive, 2 bold lines. She'd taken it 3 months ago, the same week Julian left for his emergency business trip to Singapore. She convinced herself it was a false positive. Stress did strange things to bodies. She'd been drowning in the Bennett Tower proposal. She'd never confirmed it, never scheduled a doctor's appointment, never told him. Now she picked it up, studied it like she studied blueprints, looking for the structural truth beneath the surface. Julian had signed a contract that erased her from his future. He'd never know what else he'd lost. She threw the test in the trash and closed the drawer. The text arrived 2 days later from a number she didn't recognize. The Aurelia Club, 47th floor. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. Come alone. This is about your future. TK. Amara should have deleted it. Should have blocked the number and moved on with the careful process of rebuilding her career without Julian's family connections. Instead, she Googled TK Aurelia and found nothing but business filings, shell corporations, and a 15-year-old news article about embezzlement charges that never stuck. Something about the mystery pulled at her, or maybe she just had nothing left to lose. The Aurelia Club didn't advertise. The elevator required a key card she didn't have until the concierge handed her one with a slight bow. "Mr. Kong is expecting you, Miss Cole." The ride to the 47th floor was silent, except for her pulse hammering in her ears. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city's grid of lights and ambition. A man sat alone at a corner table, an untouched espresso in front of him. He didn't stand when Amara approached. He simply gestured the chair across from him with 2 fingers, the movement economical and commanding. Kong Taejin looked nothing like his nephew Julian. Where Julian was soft edges and easy charm, this man was composed entirely of sharp lines and controlled danger. Mid-40s Korean features, a suit that probably cost more than her car. His eyes tracked her with the precision of someone who'd learned to read people for survival. "You left the Park Estate at 9:14 p.m. last Tuesday," he said without preamble, his voice low and measured. "Drove home on Route 7, stayed inside your apartment for 48 hours, then fired your assistant for asking if you needed time off." Amara's spine straightened. "If you're here to threaten me about something, you're wasting both our time. I don't have information worth buying silence for. I'm not here to threaten you. Amara, may I call you Amara?" He didn't wait for permission. "I'm here because my nephew and his family traded you like a stock option to close a merger. And I'm offering you something they never would, actual power." He slid a folder across the table. Inside, detailed documentation of Helena Wu's acquisition strategy, Julian's signed marriage agreement with Lydia Wu, time-stamped photographs of Amara at the gala, and a full financial breakdown of what the parks gained from erasing her from the family narrative. Amara's throat tightened as she flipped through the pages. "Why do you have all this? Why do you care? I've known about you for almost 2 years. Julian talked about you at family dinners like a man showing off a prize he couldn't quite believe he'd won. Proud of your talent, embarrassed by your background. Always that combination." Taejin's expression didn't change. "I care because 15 years ago, Elliot Park and Julian's father framed me for embezzlement, destroyed my reputation, and drove me out of the city with nothing. I rebuilt in Seoul, away from the Park name and everything it represented. Now I'm back, and I need a wife. You're insane. I'm strategic. There's a difference." He leaned back, fingers steepled. "Elliot built Parkwell Holdings on my father's empire after they erased me from the family. Every contract, every merger, every dollar they made sits on a foundation they stole from me. I want it back. All of it. And I want them to watch it crumble." Amara stared at him. "And I'm what? Your weapon? Your statement piece. My partner, my equal." His voice softened slightly. "You're a brilliant architect who just won a landmark commission on pure talent. You have vision, work ethic, and the kind of strategic mind that built a firm from nothing in 5 years. What you don't have is capital, protection, or connections that can survive what's coming. What's coming? Helena will destroy your reputation within 6 months. Quietly, professionally, the way elite families handle loose ends. You'll lose contracts. Investors will get nervous. Clients will hear whispers that you're difficult to work with or unstable after a bad breakup. I've watched it happen to women in your position 12 times in the last decade. They rebuild eventually, but they never reach the heights they could have." The words landed like physical blows. Amara knew he was right. She'd seen it happen to other women who dared to date above their station and failed to seal the deal. "So I marry you instead," she said slowly. "Become Mrs. Kong in Playhouse while you settle old scores with your family. You become Amara Kong and take your career to levels the parks could never have given you. I'll inject $10 million into Cole Urban Studio immediately, no strings attached. You'll have instant access to every boardroom and country club that ever made you feel inferior. Social elevation that makes Helena will look provincial. In exchange for what exactly? Your name on a marriage certificate. Public appearances at my side when needed. Silence about certain aspects of my business operations. He paused. 5 years, renewable by mutual agreement. After that, you walk away wealthy, connected, and completely untouchable. Or you stay, if we both want that. Amara studied his hands. They rested flat on the table, steady despite the insanity of what he was proposing. Scars marked his knuckles, white lines against his skin that spoke of violence she couldn't quite imagine. What business operations would I be staying silent about? The kind that keep powerful people awake at night. Something almost like a smile crossed his face. I'll give you 72 hours to decide. If you agree, meet me at the county courthouse Thursday at 10 a.m. If not, we never speak again, and you handle Julian and his new family however you see fit. He stood, straightened his cuffs with a kind of precision that suggested military training, or worse, and walked toward the elevator. The espresso remained untouched on the table, cooling in the air-conditioned silence. Amara sat alone for 30 minutes, staring at the folder. Then she went home and became a detective in her own future. 72 hours of research painted a picture that should have sent her running. 19 registered companies under Kang Taejin's name, shipping, real estate, technology investment, private security. Shell corporations in 3 countries. Political donations to every major candidate in the last election cycle, playing all sides. 0 lawsuits, 0 arrests. A man who operated in plain sight while remaining functionally invisible to conventional scrutiny. The deeper she dug, the more the absence of information felt deliberate. Criminal, even. A buried news article from 15 years ago. Park family heir accused of embezzlement. Flees the soul. The photo showed a younger Taejin in handcuffs, his expression blank and unreadable. Elliot Park stood in the background, appropriately grim. 6 months later, a follow-up article buried in the business section. Charges dropped against Kang Taejin. No evidence of wrongdoing. No explanation. No investigation details. Just a quiet retraction and a man who never returned home. Amara hired a private investigator with money she couldn't afford to spend. The report came back in 36 hours, disturbingly brief. Subject, Kang Taejin. 3 business rivals vanished between 2019 to 2022. No bodies recovered. Subject's name appeared in sealed court depositions, but nothing prosecutable emerged. Extensive security infrastructure suggests significant resources. Recommend extreme caution. This individual operates beyond normal civilian parameters. She read the report 4 times. Then she booked a car to the courthouse. Thursday morning arrived with pale sunlight and the weight of irrevocable choices. Amara wore a slate-gray suit that felt like armor, pulled her hair back severely, wore no jewelry. She looked like she was going to war, which felt appropriate. Taejin waited by the courthouse entrance in black, hands in his pockets, looking like he'd been carved from granite and expectation. "You came," he said simply. "I have conditions. I expected nothing less. Let's get married first. We can negotiate after we're legally bound to each other." The dry humor in his voice surprised her. The ceremony took 11 minutes. A bored officiant rushed through vows like she was reading assembly instructions. Amara signed her name in steady script, watching the ink dry on Amara Cole and feeling like she just stepped off a cliff into absolute darkness. Outside on the courthouse steps, Taejin handed her a key card. "Penthouse address is on the back. I've arranged for your belongings to be moved this afternoon. I'll need your current address and a list of anything valuable or fragile. I can pack my own apartment." "Of course you can. But we have 6 weeks until the Aurelia Business Leadership Gala, and you'll need that time for other preparations." Time is a resource. I'm trying to respect yours. Preparation for what? Our first public appearance as a married couple, where we let Elliot, Julian, and Helena Wu understand exactly what they've created by discarding you. He met her eyes. War has rules. Amara, first rule, establish clear terms of engagement. I have 3 requirements. 1, complete honesty between us. About business, feelings, everything. I've spent 15 years surrounded by liars. I won't live with another one. 2, I will never touch you without explicit, enthusiastic permission. This marriage is strategic, not romantic, and your body belongs to you alone. 3, don't ask about certain aspects of my work unless you're prepared to carry the weight of that knowledge. Once you know, you can't unknow, and you become complicit in everything. Amara's pulse quickened. And if I ask anyway, then I'll tell you the truth. Every piece of it. And you'll understand why some people disappear from the world without a trace. His hand, when he helped her into the waiting car, was warm and surprisingly gentle. But I hope you won't ask. Not yet. Not until you're certain you can live with the answers. The penthouse was exactly what she'd expected. Minimalist, expensive, cold as a museum. 2 bedrooms separated by a living space that looked like a furniture showroom. Everything carefully curated and nothing personal except a single framed photograph on the bookshelf. A young Korean woman laughing, caught mid-motion by whoever had loved her enough to capture that joy. Taejin noticed her looking. My sister, Minji. She died 11 years ago. I'm sorry. So am I? He set down his keys with a quiet click. The master suite is yours. I'll take the guest room. Privacy matters in arrangements like ours. We'll share common spaces for meals and any necessary coordination, but your personal space remains entirely yours. You're really not going to? No! He cut her off gently but firmly. I told you the terms. I meant every word. That night, they ate dinner at opposite ends of a table built for 12. Taejin asked about her current projects, her vision for a Cole Urban Studios expansion, her thoughts on sustainable architecture in urban environments. She asked nothing personal, and he didn't push. The silence between topics felt strangely comfortable, like they were both fluent in the language of careful distance. The next morning, Amara's business account showed a wire transfer. $10 million. Reference line reading simple investment, Cole Urban Studio. No contracts. No conditions. Just money, appearing like magic or a test she didn't understand yet. Her assistant called within an hour, voice shaking. Amara, what the hell is this? Who deposited $10 million? Is this real? Are we being laundered? It's real. It's clean. And it's for my husband. Amara heard herself say the word husband like she was tried on for the first time. You're what? Since when are you married? To who? It's new. I'll explain later. Just accept the transfer and start identifying expansion opportunities. We're going to need a bigger office. She hung up before more questions could come. The first week passed in careful choreography. Separate bedrooms. Polite morning greetings. Taejin worked from a home office, taking calls in Korean that Amara didn't try to translate. She noticed things. The way he took his coffee black, the scar on his left hand that looked like a knife wound, how he read 3 newspapers every morning in complete silence, absorbing information like he was preparing for battle. 2 weeks in, she found him standing by the living room window at 3 a.m, staring at the photograph of his sister. Couldn't sleep? Amara asked from the hallway, wrapping her robe tighter against the air conditioning. Taejin didn't startle. I don't sleep much. Haven't for years. What happened to her? The question escaped before Amara could stop it. He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, Elliot happened to her. She wanted to study art in Paris. He forced her into Wharton's business program, controlled her money, monitored her friends, dictated every aspect of her life. When she tried to leave, he threatened to destroy anyone who helped her. She hanged herself in her dorm room 2 months before graduation. The note she left said she was tired of being apart, tired of being owned, tired of breathing. Amara's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. I was in Seoul when it happened, building my first company, trying to clear my name from the embezzlement charges. I couldn't get back in time for the funeral. Elliot told everyone it was an accident, a tragic mental health crisis. He erased her truth the same way he erased me. Taejin's voice remained flat, emotionless in a way that made it worse. That's why I came back. Not just for my reputation or my father's company. For her. So the next young woman who crosses Elliot Park's path might survive the encounter. Amara crossed the room slowly. She didn't touch him, but she sat in a chair nearby. Revenge won't bring her back. No, but it might mean something. It might make her death matter. They sat in silence as the city lights blurred through the window. Amara didn't have words adequate to the moment, so she simply stayed, offering presents instead of platitudes. 3 weeks into the marriage, Taejin came home at midnight with blood on his shirt cuffs. He didn't try to hide it. He walked directly to the bar, poured 3 fingers of whiskey, and stood by the window like he was waiting for her judgment. Amara's hands trembled as she set down her book. What happened? A business associate made threats against someone under my protection. I provided him with incentive to reconsider his approach. With violence, with finality. Taejin's reflection in the window was stone. He'll recover. Physically, mentally. He'll carry tonight for the rest of his life. And next time someone threatens your interests, next time someone might not recover at all. He turned to face her. This is what I am, Amara. This is the cost of the world I built and the protection I can offer you. I don't apologize for it, and I won't pretend to be something gentler. If you want out, I'll arrange everything. Clean exit, no consequences. Enough money to start over anywhere in the world. She should have said yes. Should have packed her things and disappeared into a normal life with normal problems. Instead, she asked, did he deserve it? Taejin's expression shifted slightly. Does that matter to you? Yes. He sent photographs of a woman's daughter to her workplace. Explicit threats about what would happen if she testified against him in a fraud case. I gave him 72 hours to withdraw the threats and leave the country. He chose to escalate instead. Taejin drained his whiskey in one smooth motion, so I escalated further. Meaning what exactly? Meaning he's currently on a medical flight to Singapore with 2 broken arms, and an understanding that if he ever returns to Aurelia, the next visit will be to the morgue instead of the hospital. The casual way he said it made Amara's stomach turn, but she didn't look away. How many people have you hurt? 17 over 15 years. All of them after extensive warnings and opportunities to choose differently. I'm not a monster who hurts for pleasure, Amara. I'm a survivor who learned that some people only understand one language, and you speak it fluently. Yes, I do. He set down the glass. Does that change things between us? Amara stood, crossed him, close enough to smell the copper tang of someone else's blood mixed with his cologne. Ask me again in the morning. When I had time to think about whether I'm strong enough to be married to someone who breaks arms as a negotiating tactic. That's fair. Taejin's voice softened. For what it's worth, I hope you are. I'm finding I prefer having you here to eating dinner alone." He left her standing there, heart racing, mind at war with itself. Morning sickness started the next week. Amara hid it carefully, rushing to the bathroom before Taejin's alarm, blaming fatigue on project deadlines when he asked if she was feeling well. She took another pregnancy test in a drugstore bathroom during her lunch break, hands shaking as she waited for results she already knew. Positive, still Julian's. She carried the secret like a stone in her chest, getting heavier every day. The gala arrived with the weight of a public execution. Aurelia Grand Hotel, 800 guests. Every important person in the city's financial ecosystem gathered to network and peacock. Amara wore emerald green because Taejin's stylist said it would make an unforgettable statement. She felt like she was wearing war paint. The moment they entered the ballroom, silence rippled outward like a shock wave. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Champagne flutes paused halfway to lips. Phones emerged from clutches and pockets. Camera flashes popped like small explosions. Amara kept her chin high, her hand light on Taejin's arm, and walked through the crowd like she owned the building. Maybe, through her husband, she did. Across the ballroom, Helena Wu's face went pale beneath her perfect makeup. Julian stood near the bar with a woman who must be Lydia Wu, his expression cycling through shock, disbelief, and something that looked like panic. And Elliot Park, holding court near the podium, froze mid-sentence when he saw his brother. Taejin guided Amara through the crowd with the confidence of someone who'd planned this moment for 15 years. Elliot. His voice carried just enough to turn every head in their vicinity. It's been too long. Elliot Park recovered quickly, his business smile sliding into place with practiced ease. Thomas, I heard rumors you were back in Aurelia, but I didn't believe them. Believe them? I'm not visiting. I'm staying. I've already reestablished residence, transferred my primary business operations back to the city, and filed the necessary paperwork to reclaim my stake in Parkwell Holdings. Taejin's hand settled at the small of Amara's back, protective and deliberately proprietary. I believe you know my wife, Amara Cole, though I suppose you knew her as Amara Cole back when Julian was still pretending he understood her value. The room erupted. Whispered conversations exploded into urgent exchanges. Phones came out everywhere. Social media updates happening in real time. Amara felt 800 pairs of eyes weighing her, judging her, recalculating her worth. Helena Wu approached with a smile that could cut glass. Mrs. Kong, how unexpected, and how quickly you moved on from your previous situation. Mrs. Wu. Amara kept her voice pleasant, professional. I'd say it's a pleasure, but we both know I was never very good at corporate politeness. I prefer honesty. You orchestrated my removal from Julian's life to secure a merger. I found someone who values what I bring to a partnership. That's not moving on quickly. That's understanding my worth. Helena's smile hardened into something brittle. Valiant spin. I'm sure you'll be very happy with Thomas and his colorful business reputation. I'm sure I will be. After all, he's the one who taught the Parks everything they know about building empires. Isn't that right, Elliot? Elliot's jaw tightened. My brother and I have very different approaches to business. Yes, Taejin said mildly. I prefer building things that last instead of stealing them from family members. Speaking of which, my attorneys will be contacting you Monday morning about my ownership stake. I recommend having your legal team prepared. This will be thorough. He guided Amara away before Elliot could respond, leaving the man standing like he'd been struck. across the ballroom. Julian watched with hands that trembled around his champagne flute. Lydia, who stood beside him, looking between her fiancé and his ex with calculating eyes. Drop a comment right now telling me if you think Amara made the right choice. And hit that subscribe button, because what happens next is going to change everything. Where are you watching from? I want to know. The aftermath came faster and harder than Amara expected. Within 2 weeks, Cole Urban Studio received meeting requests from 4 firms that had previously ignored her proposals. She was invited to speak on exclusive industry panels, quoted in the Aurelia Business Journal, featured in a profile titled Power Shift, How Amara Cole is Redefining Elite Architecture. But power had costs that showed up in her daily life like unwanted gifts. Armed security appeared outside her office building without explanation. Mr. Kong arranged it. They told her when she asked. Her phone was replaced with a new encrypted model. It's safer, Taejin said, offering no further details. Late-night phone calls in Korean became more frequent, his voice taking on edges she'd learned to recognize as dangerous. A business rival's office burned down on a Tuesday. The man disappeared on Wednesday. The fire was ruled accidental. The disappearance was classified as voluntary flight from debt. Amara read about it in the morning paper, her stomach churning for reasons that had nothing to do with pregnancy. Did you do that? She asked Taejin over breakfast. He looked up from his own newspaper, expression neutral. He tried to blackmail me with fabricated evidence about my overseas accounts. I gave him 48 hours to retract the claims and issue a public apology. And when he didn't, he made a choice. I responded to that choice. Now he's living in Thailand with enough money to start over and enough fear to never come back. You burned his office. I sent a message about the consequences of lying about me. The fire was unfortunate but effective. Taejin folded his newspaper with precise creases. Would you prefer I had handled it differently? I don't know what I prefer anymore. Amara set down her coffee cup carefully. I just want to understand where the line is. What you will and won't do. There is no line, Amara. There's only survival, strategy, and consequences. I learned that when Elliot framed me and watched while the legal system failed me completely. I learned it when Minji died and the truth was buried under family PR. So I built this life where I make the rules and enforce them myself. Is it violent sometimes? Yes. Is it effective? Always. How many people have you? She stopped, unable to finish the question. Killed? None. Hurt? 17. Destroyed financially? 42. Made disappear through fear rather than force? More than I've counted. His voice remained calm, factual. I don't enjoy violence, Amara, but I'm very good at it, and I'm completely willing to use it to protect what's mine. The word mine hung in the air between them. Amara stood, walked to the window, tried to process the reality of being married to someone who spoke about destroying lives like he was discussing quarterly earnings. I need to think, she said quietly. Take all the time you need. But understand this. If you stay knowing everything. No illusions. No pretending I'm something I'm not. And if you leave clean with everything I promised. No revenge. No consequences. Just a divorce and a future. Amara turned to look at him. Why would you let me go that easily? Because forcing you to stay would make me exactly like Julian and Elliot, and I'd rather be alone than be that. Taejin stood, straightened his cuffs. I'm going to the office. Think about what you want. We'll talk tonight. He left her standing by the window, cities spreading below like a game board where people were pieces to be moved or removed. She spent the day in her own office, trying to focus on design work, while her mind circled the same questions. Could she live with this? Could she build a life knowing her husband operated outside conventional morality? Could she raise a child, Julian's child, in this world of calculated violence and strategic destruction? By evening, she still didn't have answers. She went home and found Taejin in the kitchen, cooking. You cook. The domestic scene felt surreal. I lived alone for 15 years. I learned. He gestured to the counter. Korean beef stew. My mother's recipe before she passed. It's the only thing from that life I wanted to keep. They ate in comfortable silence. The stew was good, rich and warming. Amara found herself relaxing slightly, the knot in her chest loosening. I'm not leaving, she said finally. Taejin looked up. You're sure? No, but I'm staying anyway. Because everything you said this morning was true. Julian and his family would have destroyed me quietly and called it business. Helena Wu was already planning it. I could see it in her eyes at the gala. You're violent, but you're honest about it. And you've given me more respect and autonomy in 6 weeks than Julian gave me in 3 years. That's a low bar. Maybe, but you cleared it. She met his eyes. I'm not naive, Taejin. I know what you are. I know what I'm choosing. And I'm choosing it anyway because I'm tired of being powerless. I'm tired of being dismissed. I'm tired of pretending that playing by their rules will ever actually protect me. Something shifted in his expression. You understand this changes you. Staying changes you. You'll see things you can't unsee. Know things that will weigh on you. Become complicit in ways that might keep you awake at night. I'm already awake at night. At least this way I'll be awake and powerful instead of awake and discarded. Taejin stood, crossed where she sat, and did something unexpected. He took her hand gently, raised it to his lips, and kissed her knuckles. Not romantic, not sexual, something else. Reverent, almost. Then we moved forward together, as partners, as equals. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Amara felt something in her chest shift and settle. Together, that night, for the first time, she told him about the pregnancy. They sat on the couch, the city lights creating shadows across the room. Amara's hands twisted in her lap as she forced the words out. I'm pregnant. About 4 months now. It's Julian's. I found out 3 months ago, right before he signed that contract with Helena Wu. I never told him. I never planned to. And I married you knowing this, which I realize now is unfair. But Stop. Taejin's voice was gentle but firm. Breathe. Just breathe. She did, pulling air into lungs that felt too tight. You're pregnant with Julian's child, Taejin said slowly, processing. And you've been carrying this secret for months. Yes. Does he know? He suspects. He confronted me 2 weeks ago. Noticed prenatal vitamins in my car. But I didn't confirm it. Taejin was quiet for a long moment. This changes the strategic landscape significantly. Julian will use this. Elliot will use this. Helena will absolutely use this to try to destroy both of us. I know. That's why I didn't tell you before. I thought maybe I could just handle it separately, keep you out of it. Amara, we're married. Legally, socially, strategically married. There is no separately anymore. Whatever affects you affects me, affects us. He turned to face her fully. I need you to understand something. When Minji died, I promised myself I would never let anyone I care about be vulnerable again. I would never let them face their enemies alone. And now you're sitting here, pregnant with another man's child, telling me you tried to protect me from the fallout. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Just listen. He took her hand. I'm going to ask you a question, and I need complete honesty. What do you want? Not what you think you should want. Not what's strategic. What do you actually want regarding this pregnancy, this marriage, your future? Amara's throat tightened. No one had asked her that question in months. Maybe years. I want to keep the baby. I want to raise him away from Julian and his family's influence. I want them to have your name, your protection, and a chance at a life where they're not a bargaining chip. The words tumbled out. I want to stay married to you, not because of the money or the revenge, but because in 6 weeks you've treated me with more respect than Julian did in 3 years. And I want, she stopped, unable to finish. You want what? I want you to kiss me, not because we're married, not because it's strategic, because I'm choosing you, and I want you to choose me back. Taejin searched her face for a long moment. Then he cupped her cheek with one scarred hand and kissed her slowly, carefully, like she was something precious that might shatter under too much pressure. When they pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. I choose you. I choose the baby. I choose this messy, complicated, dangerous life we're building, and I will burn down anyone who tries to take it from us. Even Julian? Especially Julian. They sat holding each other as the city lights blurred through the windows. Somewhere in Aurelia, Julian Park was probably drinking too much, obsessing over what he'd lost. Helena Wu was probably plotting her next move. Elliott Park was probably consulting lawyers about how to fight Taejin's ownership claims. Let them plot. Let them scheme. Amara Cole had chosen her side, and she was done playing defense. Julian's obsession manifested physically 3 weeks later. He started showing up everywhere. Outside her office building at odd hours, at her favorite coffee shop in the morning, at construction sites where she was consulting, always watching, never approaching. His presence was a constant pressure, a reminder of unfinished business. Finally, Amara confronted him in the parking garage beneath her building. What do you want, Julian? You're starting to look like a stalker. He looked terrible. Unwashed hair, wrinkled suit, eyes that couldn't quite focus. The golden boy facade had crumbled, revealing something desperate and slightly unhinged underneath. I want to know if you ever loved me, or if you were always planning this. Waiting for someone richer, more powerful. Was I just a stepping stone to him? Amara felt a flash of anger, so hot it surprised her. I loved you. I loved you enough to reshape my entire life around yours. I learned to smile through your mother's backhanded compliments, network with people who looked down on me, wore the right clothes to the right events, made myself smaller so you could feel bigger. And you repaid that by signing a contract that erased me like I was a line item you could afford to cut. I was under pressure. The family, the board, Helena Wu. You had a pen in your hand and a choice in front of you. You chose the merger over me. That's not pressure, Julian. That's priority. She turned to walk away. He grabbed her arm, not violently, but desperately, his fingers digging in just enough to stop her. You're pregnant, aren't you? I can see it now. The way you're standing, the way you've been avoiding certain foods. It's mine. I know it's mine. Amara's heart slammed against her ribs. Let go of me. Tell me the truth. Are you carrying my child? Before she could answer, Taejin appeared from between 2 parked cars, moving with a kind of speed and silence that suggested significant training. He didn't touch Julian, didn't raise his voice, just positioned himself between them, a wall of controlled violence. Remove your hand from my wife. Now. Julian stumbled backward, releasing Amara like she burned him. I just want to know if... I don't care what you want. Taejin's voice remained calm, almost conversational, which somehow made it more terrifying. You sign away every right to know anything about Amara's life when you traded her for Helena Wu's investment capital. But since you seem confused about boundaries, let me clarify them. If you ever touch my wife again, if you follow her, if you so much as look at her the wrong way, you will disappear. Not metaphorically, not eventually, immediately and permanently. Do you understand? Julian's face had gone white. You can't threaten me. My family. Your family knows exactly what I'm capable of. Why do you think Elliot hasn't slept properly since the gala? Why do you think Helena will quadrupled her personal security? Taejin took one step closer. I'm not threatening you, Julian. I'm educating you. There's a difference. The threat comes if you ignore the education. The baby is none of your concern. Not legally, not morally, not in any way that matters. Taejin's hand found Amara's. Squeeze once. Walk away. Start your life with Lydia Wu. Build your merger. And forget that Amara Cole ever existed. Because Amara Kong is mine to protect, and I take that responsibility very seriously. Julian looked between them, something breaking in his expression. Then he turned and half walked, half ran toward the elevator. When the doors closed behind him, Taejin turned to Amara. Are you hurt? No, just shaken. She leaned against the car, adrenaline making her legs unsteady. He knows about the baby now. He'll tell people. Elliot, Helena, everyone. Let him. We'll control the narrative. Taejin's jaw tightened. I should have handled him more permanently. I could make it look like he left the country, started over somewhere. No, Amara grabbed his arm. I don't want you to kill him. I don't want that on my conscience or yours. He's pathetic and obsessed, but he's not worth that. He touched you. He's following you. He's becoming dangerous. Then we'll handle it another way. Legal restraining order. Public exposure of his instability. Something that doesn't involve you committing murder in a parking garage. Taejin studied her face, then nodded slowly. Okay, we'll try it your way first. But if he escalates, if he becomes a real threat to you or the baby, I won't hesitate. I know. That's why I'm asking you to wait. Because I know you would do it, and I know why, and I'm asking you not to. For me, his expression softened slightly. For you, I can wait, but not forever. They drove home in silence, Taejin's hand resting on hers the entire way. The legal response came within 48 hours. Restraining order filed and approved. Julian was prohibited from coming within 500 feet of Amara, her workplace, or their residence. The filing made local news, framed as Park Air's ex-fiancé seeks protection after harassment claims. Julian's response was immediate and public. He gave an interview to the Aurelia Tribune, looking haggard and desperate. Amara Cole was the love of my life. I made a terrible mistake choosing business over our relationship. Now she's married to my uncle, a man with a documented history of violence and criminal allegations. And I'm concerned for her safety. She's pregnant with my child, and I have a right to be involved in that child's life. The interview went viral within hours. Social media exploded. Think pieces appeared analyzing the scandal from every angle. Amara's phone rang constantly until she turned it off. Taejin's response was more measured, but infinitely more devastating. He arranged a press conference at City Hall, brought Amara with him, and addressed the cameras with the kind of calm authority that commanded attention. My nephew Julian Park has made several false claims that require correction. First, Ms. Cole and I began our relationship after her engagement to Julian ended, not before. Second, the pregnancy Mr. Park references is a private medical matter that he has no legal right to discuss publicly. Third, his characterization of our marriage as somehow dangerous reveals more about his state of mind than about our relationship. He paused, letting the cameras capture his controlled expression. Julian Park is a man who traded the woman he claims to love for a business advantage. When that woman moved on and found happiness elsewhere, he began stalking her, necessitating legal protection. These are documented facts, not opinions. I have instructed my attorneys to pursue defamation charges for his false claims about my alleged criminal history. All charges against me were dropped 15 years ago due to complete lack of evidence. I was framed by members of my own family, a fact that will be thoroughly explored in the upcoming lawsuit against Parkwell Holdings. Taejin's hand found Amara's, squeezed gently. As for the pregnancy, my wife and I will be raising this child together as a con, with all protection, privilege, and love that name carries. Mr. Park's biological contribution does not entitle him to any parental rights, particularly given his demonstrated instability and harassment. We ask for privacy during this time, and thank you for your understanding. He guided Amara away from the podium before questions could start, leaving the press pool shouting after them. In the car, Amara exhaled shakily. That was intense. That was necessary. We controlled the narrative before Julian could twist it further. Taejin's thumb traced circles on her hand. How are you feeling? Powerful. Terrified. Like I just declared war on people who play this game much better than I do. They play it better than the old you. The new you is learning fast. He smiled slightly. And you're not alone in this war. That's their disadvantage. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Helena will release a statement condemning reckless personal behavior that reflects poorly on business partnerships. Elliott Park called an emergency board meeting at Parkwell Holdings to discuss the family reputation crisis. 3 of Amara's smaller clients quietly terminated their contracts, citing unforeseen circumstances. But larger forces moved in their favor. 2 major firms reached out specifically because of the scandal, wanted to work with the architect bold enough to stand up to the Parks. A profile in architecture today called her the most interesting designer in Aurelia. Investment offers for a Cole Urban studio tripled. Taejin's lawsuit against Parkwell Holdings moved forward with frightening speed. His legal team uncovered documents proving the embezzlement charges 15 years ago had been fabricated using forged signatures and manufactured evidence. The case built momentum, threatening to unravel Elliott Park's entire empire. 6 weeks after the press conference, Amara stood in the empty shell of what would become the Aurelia Cultural Center. Steel beams rose toward the sky like a promise. Her hand rested on her growing belly. Feeling the baby move for the first time, a flutter like wings against her palm. Her phone buzzed. Multiple messages appeared in quick succession. Julian, please. We need to talk about custody arrangements. I'm the father. I have rights. Unknown number. Helena Wu sends her regards. Check your company registration. You'll find some interesting changes. Taejin, emergency situation. Elliott filed an injunction trying to freeze my assets. Come home. Now. Amara looked at the messages, then at the building rising around her. She'd started this journey broken and invisible. The woman Julian Park discarded for a better deal. Now she was Amara Cole, architect of her own empire, wife to a man who'd burn the world to protect her, mother to a child who would never know what it meant to be traded away. She typed rapid responses. To Julian, you have no rights. My attorney will contact yours regarding permanent termination of parental claims. Do not contact me again. To the unknown number. Whatever you change, my lawyers will undo. Tell Helena she should have destroyed me when she had the chance. To Taejin, on my way. Whatever Elliot's trying, we'll handle it together. She drove home through afternoon traffic, mind already racing through strategies and contingencies. The penthouse felt different now, less like a showroom and more like home. Taejin stood by the window, phone pressed his ear, speaking rapid Korean that sounded like commands. He ended the call when he saw her. Elliot's injunction is targeting 3 of my shell corporations, claiming their vehicles for money laundering. He's trying to tie up enough of my liquid assets that I can't fund a lawsuit against him. Can he do that? He can try. My attorneys are already filing counter motions. But this is going to get ugly, Amara. Uglier than anything we've faced so far. Federal investigations, media scrutiny, every piece of our lives examined. He crossed to her, hands gentle on her shoulders. This is your last chance to walk away clean. I can protect you from the immediate fallout, set you up somewhere far from all this chaos. Stop offering me exits I'm not going to take. Amara met his eyes. I told you I'm staying. I meant it. Whatever's coming, we face it together. That's what partners do. Partners. He tested the word like he was tasting something rare. I've never had a real partner before. You do now. She kissed him, tasting coffee and determination. So what's our counter move? Aggressive and public. We go after Elliot's personal finances, expose the original embezzlement frame-up, and leverage every piece of evidence we've gathered about Parkwell Holdings' questionable business practices over the last 15 years. Taejin pulled up documents on his laptop. I've been building this case since I came back to Aurelia. Every shady deal, every corner they cut, every lie they told investors. It's all documented. How long will this take? 6 months minimum. Possibly longer if Elliot keeps filing injunctions and delays. He turned to her. Can you handle 6 months of this? The stress, the scrutiny, the constant attacks. Amara thought about the baby moving inside her, about the building that would carry her vision into reality, about the life she'd chosen over the safe, small one Julian had offered. I can handle 6 years if that's what it takes. I'm done being scared, done being small, done letting people like Elliot and Helena decide what I'm worth. Then we fight. Taejin pulled her close, his hand resting over hers on her belly. All of us. 3 months later, Amara Cole stood at a podium in front of 200 journalists, 7 months pregnant and absolutely radiating control power. The Aurelia Cultural Center had just broken ground behind her, ceremonial shovels still stuck in the earth. This building represents everything I was told I couldn't have. A landmark project, creative control, the resources to make vision reality. I was told I wasn't connected enough, polished enough, from the right background. She paused, letting the cameras capture her expression. Those people were wrong. Not because I changed to fit their definition of worthy, but because I found partners who valued what I actually brought to the table. She gestured to Taejin, standing to her left, and to her expanded team at Cole Urban Studio. The Aurelia Cultural Center will be a home for artists and architects who've been told they don't belong. A space where talent matters more than pedigree, where vision matters more than connections. And yes, it's funded by Kong Industries, a company currently being investigated by people who would rather see it destroyed than admit they were wrong 15 years ago. Reporters shouted questions. Amara raised a hand. I'll address the obvious question. Yes, I'm pregnant. Yes, my child will be born a Kong. And no, the biological father has no parental rights because he legally terminated them last month in exchange for dropping his harassment charges. Everything is documented, everything is legal, and everything is exactly what I chose. More shouting, more questions. She smiled. I have one more announcement. Cole Urban Studio is merging with Kong Industries to create the largest architecture and development firm in Aurelia. We're hiring 50 new positions across all levels of experience, with a focus on recruiting from underrepresented communities. Because if there's one thing I've learned from this entire experience, it's that the people who've had to fight for every opportunity tend to be the ones who actually deserve them. The press conference ended in chaos. Amara walked off the podium into Taejin's waiting arms, exhausted and exhilarated. You just declared war on the entire old money establishment, he murmured against her hair. Good. Let them come. I'm ready. That night, they lay in bed. Their bed now, shared after months of separate rooms and careful distance. Taejin's hand rested on her belly, feeling the baby kick. What should we name them? Amara asked. Something strong. Something that reminds them they're fighters. He was quiet for a moment. If it's a girl, I'd like to call her Minji, after my sister. Give her a chance at the life Minji never got. Amara's throat tightened. And if it's a boy, you choose. This is your child first. Our second, you've earned the right to name them. Our child, she corrected gently. Biology doesn't make family. Choice does. And I'm choosing you as this baby's father, if that's what you want. Taejin kissed her softly. It's everything I want. You're everything I want. This life we're building. This war we're fighting. This messy, beautiful, complicated future. All of it. Somewhere across the city, in a penthouse that felt too large and too empty, Julian Park sat alone with a bottle of scotch and a framed photo of Amara from 3 years ago. He'd lost everything that mattered chasing things that didn't. The merger with Wu International had fallen through when Helena pulled out, citing reputational concerns. Lydia had broken their engagement, calling him emotionally unstable and professionally compromised. His father had removed him from his position at Parkwell Holdings. Disgusted by the public scandal, he'd traded love for power and ended up with neither. In her corner office, Helena Wu reviewed quarterly reports and realized that half her major clients had shifted their business to firms working with Cole Urban Studio. The architect she dismissed as unsuitable was now maneuvering her at every turn. She'd underestimated Amara Cole, Amara Kong, and was paying the price. In the Parkwell Holdings boardroom, Elliot Park read through legal documents that spelled out his systematic destruction. Taejin's lawsuit had uncovered 15 years of financial manipulation, fraud, and corruption. The SEC had opened an investigation. 3 board members had already resigned. The empire built on his brother's stolen legacy was crumbling, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. And in the penthouse they now called home, Amara and Taejin Kong lay tangled together, planning their next move in a war. They were winning one strategic victory at a time. I love you, Amara said quietly, testing the words. Taejin pulled her closer. I love you too, both of you. His hand stayed on her belly as they drifted towards sleep. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the wreckage of other people's cruelty and built something unshakable from the pieces. The baby kicked again, strong and insistent. A fighter, just like her parents. If this story hit you differently, If you learn something about power, choice, and refusing to be anyone's consolation prize, smash that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and whether you think Amara made the right choice. Because here's the lesson nobody wants to teach you. Sometimes the only way to win is to stop playing by rules designed to keep you losing. Sometimes you have to marry the dangerous man, burn the bridges, and build your empire on the ashes of people who underestimated you. Part 2 is coming, and you won't believe how this war ends. See you there.